Okay, when it comes to chronic conditions, and I'm talking about any of the chronic conditions that we have courses for, plus so many more, these are the three things you've got to look at when considering diet. So I don't care if it's peripheral neuropathy, if it's a blood sugar disorder, if it's a childhood developmental disorder, if it's a thyroid disorder or blood pressure or even just weight loss. These are the three things that you have to look at, which is the core of our metabolic reset program. This is why with our courses, we always include the metabolic reset program, because this is the foundation. So for any condition, the number one goal should be to reduce inflammation, and you do that through the foods that you eat. Number two is to modulate insulin. Hey, you do that through the types of food that you eat. And then number three is find and address any food sensitivities. So we're going to talk about each one of those in detail in the rest of this video. Okay, so when we're talking about the foods that we know can cause some people inflammation, these are the top 6 ones that we need to discuss. Number one is corn. Easiest way to say this here is that we give corn to cattle to fatten them up. Should make sense, right? Number two is soy. They use a lot of pesticides and herbicides to produce non-organic soy. That can cause a lot of people problems. Same thing with gluten, the protein that's found in wheat. Oftentimes we're using all sorts of chemicals to produce that and get it to your plate, especially in refined grains. So I'm going to actually add number 7 here. That's thinking on the fly. Refined grains. Hey, number 4 is going to be sugar. Should be a no-brainer. This is 2024. Number 5 is surprising to some people. It is dairy. There are a lot of people that dairy causes issues with. That's why we're going to talk about food sensitivity panels, and it's not just lactose intolerance. That's just one form of many, many forms of dairy sensitivities. Number 6 are seed oils. We want to make sure we replace all of your oils. We'll talk about that later. And then number 7 is refined grains, which we just added to this list. So if you look at that, the knee-jerk reaction is, well, what am I going to eat? Well, this is why in the Metabolic Reset program, we tell you, here's the foods to pick from. Okay? Whole protein sources, chicken, fish, beef, wild game, eggs. So you think carnivore. Hey, the less processed, the better. So if you can get these things whole, if you can get them organic, if you can get them grass-fed, if you can get them wild-caught, that's definitely going to be the way to go when it comes to your protein sources. Hey, your fruits and vegetables need to be low glycemic fruits and vegetables. So that would be, for the fruits, it's pretty much anything except for bananas, pineapples, mangoes, and grapes. So for fruit, I always tell people lean towards organic berries because of their antioxidant content. Your vegetables are fresh or frozen organic vegetables with the exception of potatoes, corn, peas, or carrots. And then we'll talk about that more in the glycemic portion of this. And then your dairy, obviously we just want you to get away from that for now until we get this situation resolved. Dairy is not eggs, but it is everything else that comes from a cow. And we don't want to replace that really with other animals' milk or even some of the healthier nut milks that are out there. We're going to stay away from those for right now. And then nuts and seeds, organic pumpkin seeds, organic Brazil nuts, organic walnuts. Those are pretty much nature's multivitamins. So I encourage you to eat those as much as you can. Of course, what to drink: water, water, more water. 164 ounces of water per day should be your goal as you're going through whatever condition it is that you're watching this video for. So there's what to eat. We're going to get into number 2, which is help you regulate your insulin better. There's some things that we need to talk about there. So hang on. Okay, so let's talk about number 2, which is regulating insulin. And I've got some ideas for you here to help you do this. Starting off with just eating 2 meals per day. For the people that we see for whatever condition we're seeing them for, we normally will have them begin intermittent fasting. So they skip breakfast and have lunch between 12 and 8. That way they're eating in an 8-hour window, fasting during a 16-hour window. And there's so many benefits to that, but one of them is definitely insulin regulation. So depending on your situation, that's something you may want to consider. About 2 meals a day. When you eat your meals, here's how you eat them. I would start with apple cider vinegar. ACV stands for apple cider vinegar. I would personally, the way I like to start it is to just take a shot glass, so an ounce of apple cider vinegar, and just throw it back. That's my preferred method. However, you can use this in a salad dressing and start by eating your salad dressing. Then you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone, if you will, because you're getting your apple cider vinegar. That'll lower your blood sugar response, lower your insulin response, and you're getting your veggie, because you should eat your veggie next. Hey, even look, I know you don't want to just sit and say, okay, every meal I got to have my apple cider vinegar shot, then I got to eat my vegetable, then I got to eat my protein, then I got to eat my fruit. That gets a little boring. I understand that. But if you focus on this for the first part of your meal, you're going to see lower blood sugar responses. And when you see lower blood sugar responses, your body will start regulating insulin better. So start with your ACV, then have your vegetables. Remember, your vegetables are low glycemic vegetables, so anything except for potatoes, corn, peas, or carrots, which spike your blood sugar. When we get you the result that you want, you'll be able to go back to those things, but for now I would just stay away from them. Then eat your low glycemic fruit. Remember, organic berries are the best things to do, but anything except for bananas, pineapples, mangoes, and grapes. Here's the next most important part of this, is when you finish that meal, take off and go for a 15-minute walk if you're able. And just get your heart rate up for that 15 minutes, and that increases insulin sensitivity, which is really cool, because if you exercise for 120 minutes a day, 120 minutes a week, there's studies that actually show that your cells develop new insulin receptors, and it makes insulin that much more efficient. So those are my tips for you as far as how to modulate your insulin better. You start applying those, and whatever condition it is that you've got this program for, you're going to start seeing better regulation there too. So stand by. Let's talk about number 3, which is food sensitivities. There's really no need to go off on the board here, so we're just going to keep going. Food sensitivities are basically when you eat a particular food, your body's going to have some sort of immune system reaction. I'm not talking about an anaphylaxis here. I'm not talking about your throat swelling closed, or becoming a medical emergency. What I'm talking about is a elevation in your immunoglobulins, most commonly is immunoglobulin G, IgG. This may be completely asymptomatic, and the only way that you can tell is by lab test, or it may show up as a skin rash, it might show up as a headache, it might show up as dizziness, it might show up as bloating, just because you're eating particular foods. So what I recommend that you do here is actually contact us about doing a food sensitivity test. There are some relatively low-cost tests that are available that can tell you what foods you need to continue to avoid. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is to slowly reintroduce some of these foods once we get you to whatever your goal is. That's the other way to do it. Again, my best recommendation, contact us about some food sensitivity testing. But if you do that, that's really how you're going to accomplish the diet portion of this. Your program came with the metabolic reset, so there's a lot more videos in there to help you along the way. I've given you meal plans, I've given you recipes, just follow them. Remember, if we ever can help, please reach out. Thanks, talk to you soon.